Ladies and gentlemen, I need your 5 minutes. Just 5. Because in the next 5 minutes, I want to give you something far more valuable than motivation. I want to give you a shift, a change in direction that could alter the course of your life forever. You are one decision away from a new life. It sounds simple, almost too simple, but the truth is that life doesn't transform through massive, complicated plans. It transforms in the moment when you finally say, enough. I'm changing this. One decision has the power to reroute your future, shift your identity, and rewrite your story. But most people underestimate the weight of a single choice. They think change requires dramatic events, luck, talent, or perfect timing. But real change begins quietly, internally, in that private moment when you decide to no longer live the same way. Think about where you are right now. Your habits, your job, your health, your relationships, every part of your life is a result of past decisions. Some big, some small, some intentional, and some made by default. But they all shape the direction you walk today, and that means something powerful. If past decisions built the life you're living, then a new decision can build the life you want to live next. You're not stuck because your situation is impossible. You're stuck because you haven't made a new decision yet. One decision can be the moment you stop waiting, the moment you stop telling yourself you'll start someday, the moment you stop surrendering to fear and finally choose growth over comfort. That small shift in thinking, when you draw a line and say, this changes now, that is where transformation begins. It doesn't matter how long you've been struggling or how many times you've failed. The past does not rule the next chapter unless you decide to drag it with you. Most people don't change their lives because they overthink their decisions. They imagine every possible outcome, every risk, every obstacle, until their fear convinces them to stay exactly where they are. But a decision doesn't require certainty. It requires courage. You don't need to know all the steps. You just need to choose the first one. Once you make the decision, the path begins to reveal itself. Momentum builds, possibilities open. Life starts responding to your action instead of your hesitation. The truth is, you're not waiting on motivation, and you're not waiting on a perfect opportunity. You're waiting on yourself. You're waiting on that single moment when you decide that the pain of staying the same is greater than the fear of changing. And when that moment comes, everything shifts. You think differently. You walk differently. You stop tolerating what drains you and start pursuing what inspires you. You stop living by default and start living by design. Imagine looking back a year from now and realizing that everything changed because of one decision you made today. The decision to take your goals seriously. The decision to stop making excuses. The decision to value your time, your growth, your future. That choice becomes the spark, and that spark becomes momentum. And momentum becomes a life you once thought was out of reach. You don't need a miracle. You don't need to wait for the universe to send you a sign. This is the sign. This is the moment. This is the turning point. You are one decision away from a new body, a new career, a new mindset, a new level of self-worth, a new chapter that looks nothing like the struggle you've survived. And the power to create that chapter isn't out there somewhere. It's already in you. It always has been. Your life doesn't change when the clock strikes midnight or when the calendar flips to a new year. It changes the moment you decide you're done living below your potential and ready to step into who you were meant to be. That decision is waiting, and the life you want is waiting on the other side of it. You are one decision away from a new life. Make it. Your future is built from what you do today, not tomorrow. It's a truth we all know but rarely live by. Tomorrow is comforting. It feels like a safety net, a place where we can store all our dreams, all our plans, and all our intentions. But tomorrow is also a place where action goes to die. Every time you say, "I'll start tomorrow," what you're really saying is, "I'm not ready to commit today." And the problem with that is simple. Your life is only ever lived in the present moment. The future isn't created by what you hope for. It's created by what you do right now. Think about how easily tomorrow becomes next week, next month, and eventually next year. People don't fail because they don't have potential. They fail because they postpone the very actions that would bring that potential to life. The uncomfortable truth is that your future self is a direct reflection of your present choices. You can't expect tomorrow to magically deliver a better life if today you're repeating the same habits, the same routines, the same excuses that have kept you exactly where you are. Every achievement, every transformation, every success story you admire, none of it happened because someone waited for the perfect moment. It happened because they understood that action compounds. A small step taken today is worth more than a giant leap promised for tomorrow. Even if you start imperfectly, even if you don't know all the answers, taking action today builds something real. It creates momentum, and momentum is one of the most powerful forces in life. It turns small efforts into significant changes. The reason action today matters so much is because today is the only moment you can control. You can't rewrite yesterday, and you can't act inside tomorrow. You only have this moment, this hour, this decision in front of you. When you choose to move now, you take ownership of your future. You stop being a passenger and become the driver. Everything you desire, a healthier body, a stronger mindset, financial stability, a meaningful purpose, begins with doing something about it today. Not thinking, not hoping, not planning. Doing. Tomorrow often feels easier because it asks nothing from you right now. It costs no effort, no discipline, no discomfort. But the price of delay is paid in regret. And regret is far heavier than discipline ever will be. People rarely regret the things they tried. They regret the things they kept postponing until the chance slipped away. When you repeat tomorrow, you're slowly handing away the life you could have lived. But here's the beautiful part. You can break that cycle instantly. You don't need a new month or a new year to begin. You only need a new decision. One action today, no matter how small, is the first brick in the foundation of your future. Read a page, take a walk, send the email, start the course, practice the skill. Every little act is a signal to your brain that you are becoming someone who takes action. Someone who chooses progress over procrastination. Success isn't built in bursts of inspiration. It's built in consistent, small, daily decisions. And when you look back months or years from now, you'll realize that your future didn't change all at once. It changed in the tiny moments when you chose today over tomorrow. So stop waiting for the perfect mood, the perfect timing, or the perfect plan. They don't exist. What exists is the opportunity in front of you right now. If you want a different future, build it today. Not when you're ready, not when life is easier today. Because everything you dream of is shaped by the actions you take, the effort you give, and the choices you commit to in this moment. Your future is waiting, but it can only be built by what you do today. Expendi, your excuses are the enemy, not your circumstances in 600 words without heading. Your excuses are the enemy, not your circumstances. It's easy to point fingers outward, to blame the environment, the timing, the economy, the people around you, or the hardships you didn't ask for. And yes, circumstances can be difficult, unfair, and discouraging. But circumstances are not immovable walls. They are challenges, real challenges, but challenges you can work around, push through, or rise above. Excuses, on the other hand, are the chains you willingly wear. They are the stories you repeat to convince yourself that staying where you are is justified. The truth is harsh but liberating. Your circumstances do not hold you back as much as the excuses you create to avoid confronting them. Excuses feel comfortable. They protect your ego. They make your lack of action feel reasonable. They allow you to avoid discomfort by offering you emotional shelter. But that shelter becomes a prison every time you say, "I can't. I don't have time, I'm not ready," or "it's not the right moment." You are not describing reality. You're describing a belief that stops you before you even attempt to test your limits. Excuses are the narratives your mind builds when fear wants to keep you in the familiar, even if the familiar is the very thing holding you back. Circumstances can be worked with, they can be navigated, they can be changed. History is filled with individuals who succeeded despite poverty, disability, rejection, trauma, and failure after failure. What separated them from everyone else was not a perfect life. It was the refusal to let excuses define their possibilities. They chose ownership. They chose responsibility. They chose to act even when their circumstances didn't support them. And that is a choice you can make too. You may not control every part of your life, but you control the meaning you assign to your situation. You control your response. That response is where your power lies. Excuses strip you of that power by convincing you that you're helpless. They whisper that things are impossible, that you're too late, too tired, too underqualified, or too unlucky. But your excuses don't describe your ability. They describe your mindset. And your mindset is something you can change in an instant. The moment you stop making excuses, you open the door to possibility. You begin to see solutions where before you only saw limitations. You start looking for opportunities instead of obstacles. You take responsibility for your growth, your habits, your choices, and your future. This doesn't mean you ignore your challenges. It means you stop letting them dictate the outcome before you even try. Challenges become manageable when you approach them with action instead of excuses. Excuses are also dangerous because they disguise themselves as logic. "I'm too busy" feels true, but the real truth is that people always make time for what they consider a priority. "I'm not ready" feels reasonable, but readiness comes through action, not waiting. "I don't want to fail" sounds protective, but avoiding failure guarantees you never succeed. If you look closely, every excuse contains a fear hiding underneath it. Fear of discomfort, fear of judgment, fear of responsibility, fear of change. And yet, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward despite it. When you confront your excuses when you say, "Yes, this is hard, but I'm doing it anyway," you take back your power. You take back your future. Excuses dissolve when you replace them with commitment. Circumstances bend when you meet them with consistent action. You deserve a life that reflects your potential, not your excuses. You deserve progress, not paralysis. You deserve to see what you're truly capable of, not what your fears have convinced you to settle for. So stop fighting your circumstances and start fighting your excuses. Your life changes the moment you do. Small daily steps matter more than giant occasional efforts. It's one of the most overlooked truths about success, growth, and transformation. People often believe that greatness comes from big, dramatic actions, the overnight grind, the all-in leap, the sudden breakthrough. But the reality is that life doesn't change in a single explosive moment. It changes through small, consistent actions repeated day after day. True progress is built quietly, patiently, and steadily, not in bursts of intensity, but in the discipline of repetition. When you take a small step every day, something powerful happens. You build momentum. You train your mind to show up even when you don't feel like it. You create habits that work for you instead of against you. A giant occasional effort may feel impressive in the moment, but it rarely lasts because it relies on motivation, a feeling that comes and goes. Small daily steps rely on commitment, and commitment builds results long after motivation fades. Think about water dripping on a stone. 1 drop does nothing. 10 drops do nothing. but thousands of drops over time can carve through rock. The power was never in a single drip. It was in the consistency. The same is true for you. Reading 1 page a day turns into books finished. Walking for 10 minutes a day turns into a healthier body. Practicing a skill for 15 minutes a day turns into mastery. Saving a little money consistently turns into financial stability. None of these transformations require dramatic effort, but they require daily effort. People often underestimate small actions because the results aren't immediate. You can't see the muscle after one workout. You don't become fluent after one lesson. You don't become wealthy after one deposit. And because progress is invisible at first, many people quit before they give consistency a chance to reveal its power. But small steps compound, they accumulate, they build. Just like interest grows in a bank account, your effort grows into skills, confidence, discipline, and success. The struggle is that consistency is not exciting. It's not glamorous. It doesn't give you the same rush as an intense burst of effort. But excitement doesn't build a new life, discipline does. Think of consistency as the quiet architect of your future. Every small action is a brick. Every repetition strengthens the foundation, and eventually, the structure you've built becomes too solid to collapse. On the other hand, giant occasional efforts are unreliable. They depend on how you feel that day. They exhaust you instead of sustain you. They create cycles of burnout followed by long periods of inactivity. That inconsistency kills progress. It's like watering a plant once a month with a bucket instead of a little bit every day. One huge dose doesn't keep it alive. The steady nurturing does. Your goals work the same way. They don't need drama. They need dedication. Small daily steps are also powerful because they make change approachable. They remove the overwhelming pressure of perfection. When you tell yourself you only need to improve by 1% today, it becomes impossible to fail. Little wins create confidence. Confidence fuels momentum. Momentum creates transformation. Before you even realize it, you've become someone who shows up every day, someone who follows through, someone who grows without needing a push. And here's the beautiful part. Small steps not only change your habits, they change your identity. Every day you take action, you cast a vote for the person you want to become. You start viewing yourself as capable, disciplined, and committed. That identity shift is what creates lasting success, far more than any single massive effort ever could. So don't wait for the perfect moment to make a big move. Don't depend on rare surges of motivation. Start small, start today. Let your daily steps become the silent force that shapes your future. Over time, those small steps will take you further than anything you could accomplish in one giant leap. Your future isn't built in explosions. It's built in steady footsteps. Keep stepping. You become what you surround yourself with. It's a truth that shapes your mindset, your identity, and the direction of your life more than anything else. Humans are deeply influenced by their environment, by the people they interact with, the energy they absorb, the habits they observe, and the conversations they engage in. Whether you realize it or not, your surroundings are constantly shaping who you are becoming. And the scariest part is that this influence is subtle. It works quietly, gradually, like wind shaping a mountain over time. Look at your life right now. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your ambitions, your confidence. They didn't form in isolation. They were molded by what you've allowed around you. If you spend time with people who complain, you'll begin to complain. If you stay around people who doubt everything, you'll start doubting yourself. If your environment is full of fear, negativity, or low expectations, you begin to shrink to match that atmosphere. You absorb the energy of the spaces you enter, just like a sponge. And that means if you want to grow, if you want to evolve, if you want to rise to a higher version of yourself, you must deliberately shape the world around you. This doesn't mean that the people in your life are bad. It means that every person has a certain vibration, a certain mindset, a certain standard they live by. And over time, you naturally align with the standards of the people closest to you. If they aim low, you'll begin lowering your aim. If they make excuses, you'll start justifying your own excuses. If they avoid responsibility, you'll eventually follow the same pattern. That's how powerful environment is. Your environment is stronger than your willpower. Even the most disciplined person will eventually be shaped by what surrounds them. But here's the good news, the opposite is also true. Surround yourself with ambition, and your ambition rises. Surround yourself with people who expect more from life, and you begin expecting more from yourself. Spend time around thinkers, creators, builders, and dreamers, and suddenly your own dreams expand. When you're around people who speak possibilities, your mind opens. When you're around people who take ownership of their lives, you start taking ownership of yours. You elevate by association. The books you read, the content you watch, the conversations you engage in, these are all part of your environment. You may not be able to choose every person in your life, but you can choose what you listen to, what you feed your mind, and where you invest your time. 10 minutes of uplifting content can shift your mind. At more than 10 hours of negativity, a single encouraging conversation can reignite motivation that had gone silent. You don't need a perfect environment. You just need a deliberate one. Changing your surroundings doesn't always mean cutting people off. Sometimes it means setting boundaries, limiting exposure, and choosing where your energy goes. Other times, it means seeking new connections, mentors, peers, communities that inspire you. Growth doesn't happen in isolation. It happens in environments that nurture you, challenge you, and support the future you want to create. Ask yourself, does my environment reflect the person I want to become or the person I used to be? If it reflects your past, it will hold you in your past. If it reflects your future, it will pull you toward your future. Your surroundings are like soil. You can't plant the seeds of greatness in toxic soil and expect them to flourish. You need soil that nourishes, supports, and